Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYNT Mountain News at 11.
A Laurel County family is still grieving tonight after losing their son just weeks after graduation. Zach Abner graduated earlier this month from the University of the Cumberlands. The Laurel County native died Sunday after going kayaking on the Rockcastle River. Just listen to how his former coach describes him.
And he just always had that smile. If he didn't, then you knew something was wrong. But 99% of the day, he had that great smile. He was a talkative person. He loved to talk. Sometimes you couldn't make him be quiet. He was a great leader on the football team. Kids really followed him. And he was just, I would never forget the way he looked and his smile that he always had. And it's awful.
Family members say Zach graduated with a degree in criminal justice and wanted to become a Kentucky State Police trooper. He planned to join the next cadet class. A Pike County Sheriff's deputy died Friday afternoon. A tree fell into the cab of an excavator, killing Danny Taylor while working on a job site in the Little Robinson Creek community. Taylor played many roles like Pike County Sheriff's deputy and working for the road department. Those who knew him say he was a hard worker who loved his friends and family.
He's worked 2 or 3 different jobs all at the same time. We loved him, and we will miss him very much.
Visitation for Danny Taylor will be tomorrow at 6 in the Lucas & Son Funeral Home, a church service at 7 on Wednesday, and then his funeral will be held Thursday at 2 p.m.
Well, it was another beautiful day here in the mountains. Hopefully you got to spend it outside. We saw a few clouds here and there, but overall a pretty good day. You'll notice that as we take a look at our Moorhead camera along Interstate 64, we dealt with a few of those high clouds at times, and as we head to the overnight hours, we'll hang on to a few of those clouds as well. You'll notice that here on satellite and radar, we saw those clouds kind of start to creep back into the forecast, but hey, I think that kept some of us cool today. We saw a stray chance here and there, but overall dry. Temperatures pretty warm right now. You'll notice those low 70s across the area. Maybe some spots dropping into the upper 60s already, but those dew points are still in the upper 60s to lower 70s, so feeling pretty muggy out there this evening, and really that'll continue as we head into the next few days. So we'll continue to those warmer, really above average temperatures over the next few days, along with a stray rain chance here and there. We also have some mild temperatures on the way by the time we get to the end of the work week. I'll have a look at that full forecast coming up in just a few short minutes. Macy.
All right, thank you, Paige. More than 100 people came out to the Veterans Cemetery in Hyden to remember the men and women who served our country. Folks gathered at the cemetery for a short ceremony to pay their respects to the fallen soldiers. The famous Sergeant Willie Sandlin is one of the many veterans buried there.
Just looking back at all the freedoms that we enjoy on a day-to-day basis, and the cost of those freedoms and all that was sacrificed to be given, the freedoms that we do have and live in the way that we do in such a great country.
Sandlin was the only Kentuckian to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor in World War I. And over in Hazard, veterans and community members gathered to remember the fallen. Outside the Eastern Kentucky Veterans Center, they held a ceremony to honor those who have fallen, as well as read the names of the 29 who lived at the center that died since last Memorial Day. The ceremony allows all in attendance to learn about the veterans' history and make sure no life goes unnoticed.
If somebody in the community wants to help, have them come up here to East Kentucky Veterans Center and give about 20 minutes of their time. Now that sounds bad, but the last time I gave a man 20 minutes of my time, I learned more of what to do as a service officer.
Taps and a 21-gun salute were also performed. Today is a day of honor and remembrance at Arlington National Cemetery, and a story of 2 mothers who did not know each other, but whose paths crossed after the deaths of their sons. Camilla Barnell reports.
2 mothers and an extraordinary bond.
We got the knock on the door from the casualty officers at 9 o'clock at night. They came to our door.
Both sons killed on Mother's Day 2005.
Beth is Larry's Arlington mother because we live from afar. And when she comes, she always gives him a hug for me.
Now these Gold Star mothers hold hands and remember their sons and the many others who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Nicholas and Larry are here, and all of the rows in front of them represent lives that were lost. And this is Memorial Day, so this is where we need to be.
Vice President Mike Pence also spending Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery. After laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, the vice president delivering a message of honor and gratitude.
This is the day that makes possible all other American days. Without it, without the sacrifice we honor at patriots' graves from the four corners of our land and overseas, there would be no other American days.
Pence also expressing comfort and condolences to the families for whom every day is Memorial Day.
Please don't forget the brothers and sisters in arms that serve beside these men and women. They need you to know that they loved them as well and they were their families, and just take care of them.
In Washington, I'm Camila Bernal.
People recovering from addiction often say they're learning to love themselves. But what happens when you add caring for another person into that recovery process? At Karen's Place in Louisa, there's a group of women who are learning to do just that. I sat down with a new mother who says she's overcoming addiction and fear for her children. Inside this home, you will find many little bundles of joy.
Well, I'm hungry. Without even knowing me, these people have just really loved me back to life.
There are plenty of happy moments for Andrea Tigg and her son Elijah, but the beginning of her pregnancy did not have a happy start.
It was hard to actually swallow my pride and walk back in another facility.
Andrea came to Karen's Place Maternity Center last fall.
I knew if I didn't know that my family would probably end up burying me and my child.
She had just got done with rehab when she relapsed.
I wanted to live for my kids and not die for them.
Fearing she failed.
People want to say, oh, well, doing drugs is a choice, and it may be, the first time.
She knew this was the last chance, not only for her, but also her children.
I started feeling love, but not necessarily for myself. I was still angry with myself.
She overcame addiction and that fear not only for herself, but for her little Elijah and her other children.
I love all my kids unconditionally. Sorry.
And now she works daily on giving herself that same unconditional love.
I pray that my kids learn from my mistakes because I'm not going to keep that from them.
And although it is painful, she shares her story.
When they get old enough, I'm going to share my story with them. I'm going to let them know just exactly what Mommy went through and hope and pray that it'll prevent them from having to go through the same thing.
Hoping her words will save others. Karen's Place is part of Addiction Recovery Care, which makes up several rehab facilities here in Kentucky. The Maternity Center offers a place for pregnant and new mothers to recover. To learn more about the organization, you can head over to our website, WYMT.com. The Transportation Security Administration now allows an FDA-approved epilepsy drug containing cannabis on flights. The TSA recently updated its guidance to passengers on what can be brought on planes. Some forms of medical marijuana can now be brought on board or in checked luggage. The agency notes under federal law, possession of marijuana and some cannabis-infused products remains illegal. A new study found e-cigarette flavors can damage cells in your blood vessels and even lead to heart problems. The study, published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, included 6 e-liquids with varying nicotine concentrations. Researchers found that cells that came in contact with the fluids had poorer survival and increased inflammation. The effects vary between flavors, with cinnamon being the most potent. At least 9 climbers have died on Mount Everest so far in the 2019 climbing season. Just earlier this week, crowds of climbers became stuck in a quay in the summit above the mountain's highest camp at 8,000 meters and more than 26,000 feet. Nepal's tourism authorities said suggestions that the deaths were related to the heavy traffic at the summit were baseless. Many are saying it's the lack of experience level amongst the climbers. And still to come on Mountain News at 11. The popular rideshare company Uber could be headed out to sea. More on that new idea just ahead.
And the hot and humid conditions continue over the next few days. I'll have a look at that full forecast in just a few short minutes.